Hello, viewers. My name is Kato Jacob James. This is Equator Farming Ventures. We started this project in 2020 with 100 birds at first month. Then we eventually brought 1,000. Then from there, we have gradually been increasing our target of birds every year. And now the number of our birds that we have on ground is 2,600 birds in total. We have 2,000 that are laying, and the 600 are still in the brooder growing. So with time, they'll also be getting to 4 months, but now they are only 1 month old. And we are able to produce amount of 47 trays per day on a daily basis.
Okay.
And this has helped us to manage everything that we have, to manage the farm and also look after the workers and also be able to buy feeds for the chicken. And
what type of breed do you have here, and why did you choose that breed?
we have Bava brown breed on this farm, and the reason we chose this breed is because, first of all, it gives a bigger percentage in laying production. Apparently, at the moment, we are having 94% laying capacity on a daily basis, which is a good number and a good percentage for the chicken that we have. And secondly, this Bava Brown is a good breed because it helps. It is more resistant as compared to Belgium and other chicken from other local hatcheries like Beans Car, like Quantum Feeds. This is more apparent because this one comes from Netherlands, and it is more resistant and more vibrant to give the best quality that a person can be able to engage in.
Okay.
So those are a few reasons why I chose Bava Brown.
Okay. You tell us about your journey, challenges, and successes.
My journey in this poultry has been a good one because, first of all, starting from 1,000 chicken showed me that I'm able to get a high capacity of production from this chicken. And on top of that, I learned that this chicken can be able to give me a good life and also provide for my family and also help me to teach other people who would have wanted to go into this project. The challenges I faced during the start of this business is mostly the problem of getting the best vaccines from the right vet pharmacies. Most of these vaccines that we get from these pharmacies, you find that the handling is poor, and the distance from where the vaccine is to where the farm is a problem. By the time the vaccine comes to you, most of the time the ice will have melted, which will of course kill the vaccine, or you find the vaccine is outdated and it's already expired, but the people who are giving it to you, they are not aware of this. So at the end of the day, you lose birds.
Okay.
The second challenge is labor. Labor is a problem because most of the time the workers are not actively proactive. They are not well involved in the project that you are dealing with. you have to keep pushing them all the time, which is a lot of work. Instead of them doing exactly what they're meant to do, you find that you have to be the one to always push them a notch, always, which becomes a problem when you're trying to deal with a lot of birds. But that can always be rectified as you source out the best workers, though that's still a challenge that we are facing.
Okay.
The third challenge that is a problem is the market. Though it is always consistent, but fulfilling the demand is a challenge, which is a good one, because it helps you know that you have to increase on the capacity of the birds that you have. You have to increase on the number so that you can be able to supply what they require. With all this journey that I've gone through, I realized that these birds are profitable, and you can be able to invest 60% of every amount that you get, and always you have a 40% remaining for you to do any other business that you want.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's look at housing and infrastructure. What materials were used to construct this house, and how did you put ventilation measures in consideration?
Okay. When it comes to housing, the housing of this kind of structure, when you're going to build, you have to consider mostly two important factors. The first is aeration. Aeration is very important because when you're dealing with chicken, you're dealing with poop, chicken poop, which when it is pooped and it gathers in one place, it will smell. And when it smells, the chicken will get diseased, because this raises up a substance called ammonia, which affects the chicken. And these chickens, when they are affected by that, they easily get diseased. And when they get diseased, they die. So aeration, mostly you're supposed to consider where is the rain coming from, because you don't want the water to go into your litter and then you'll get problems of disease. You have to consider where the rain is coming from. You also have to consider where the sun is coming from, so that your birds are not affected by too much heat. And then you also have to consider where the materials are going to come from, because you will find that transportation will be so high if you are using materials that are quite expensive. But local materials like wood can always be gotten from everywhere, all over the place. So you do not have to hike your prices so high. The biggest amount of money that you can spend on housing is normally on the roofing, because the roof has to be iron sheets, so that you can prevent any rain from affecting the birds. So your iron sheets are the most expensive. But then a two-storied building of chicken mostly goes from 5 million to 8 million, depending on which materials you're using. And those materials and that housing can contain from 1,000 to 1,500 birds for just that structure, depending on what kind of chicken that you are putting in it. So when you are calculating, or when you're making your budget, you have to make it inconvenience to the capacity of what you're able to use by the materials that are available to you.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the ideal space for each bird?
The?
Ideal space for each bird.
Oh, the ideal space for each bird, you are always considering at least 8 birds per every 1 square feet. 8 birds are supposed to be contained in that amount of space. When there are more than that, then that will be overcrowding. And where overcrowding comes in, the birds will start having vices like feather pecking, like you find that the birds are starting to bite on their anuses because the birds are stressed, so they start to poke on each other's anuses and they bleed. And when the bird bleeds, you find they will remove all the intestines because it's a terrible vice. So to avoid that, make sure at least every 8 birds have 1 square feet that they can be able to do all their business.
Okay. How do you control lighting and temperature?
How I control lighting and temperature. Now this normally is in chicks. From their first day to their second week, there's normally a process of lighting and using heat, which normally use pots. There are pots, or sometimes people use things like sigiri, which is where they apply charcoal and they heat up the place. Now, for every chicken, depending on where you are, every chick, for it to always eat well, you have to make sure there's good heat or good warmth for them to be able to circulate themselves evenly and eat very well so that you can have what you want. Now, the best way to make that happen is always create a brooder that has all the area around it, the walls and all the walls have to be covered so that there is no air, there's no wind that passes through so that it can affect these birds. Because this wind, when it's too much on these birds, while they're still young, they have no feathers, so they need to be warmed. So you have to make sure that all the areas on the walls are well covered, or your brooder is well covered. Mostly you use tarpaulins, or locally people can use boxes. Some may use these mats, which are locally made, to cover the whole spaces, all those that would have brought in those kind of wind. So that helps to regulate the kind of warmth that is in the brooder. Secondly, you need to have enough stoves, charcoal stoves, in the brooder. The limited amount, depending on how many birds you have, will be according to the area that you're in. Some areas are more cold than others. You realize that those who have a place where it is very cold, you have to add more stoves in the brooder so that the birds can be able to enjoy. But then when you have an area where it is having too much heat or warmth in the outside, you have to also reduce on the level of heat that is inside the brooder. Because with much heat, the birds will get stressed. With little heat, the birds would die. So you have to make sure that you regulate the heat very well. Then when it comes to lighting, you have to make sure that the lights are on from day 1 of the brooder to at least the 2nd or the 3rd week, depending on the growth of your birds. Daily and also in the night. It takes 24 hours every day for these birds to eat. So for them to grow and them to start sleeping, because you have to let them rest, you have to let them eat for the first 2 weeks with the lights on. And then in the third week, you start to regulate the lights. If you are putting it on for 24 hours, then now you have to at least put it on for 18 hours because you have to allow them to rest. Because when they rest, then they start to grow. But if you let them to keep eating all day, all night, for the whole 2 months, the birds will not grow well. So you need to give them that space for them to be able to sleep and rest, and then they can give you a better growth rate, which is consistent.
Let's look at feeding and nutrition. What feeds do you give at each stage?
For feeding and nutrition, each stage has a specific kind of feed that is given to this chicken. For the chicks, they are always given a starter, and this starter is in different kinds. There is pellets, which are made by different companies, and then you can be able to also make your own starter, which is mixed. But it will depend on the experience of a person who has done it before. But mostly pellets are the best deal because they contain every ingredient and every requirement of feed that is needed by the birds. So in the first week of the birds, of the chicks which have come to your chicken house, you have to find for them pellets because each chick has to consume at least 100 grams per chick. And then from the third week, from the second week, from the first week to the fourth week, you have now to introduce, actually from the first week, the 7 days, to the second month, you have now to introduce something that is going to give them strength in their bodies and help them to grow. Growth requires amino acids, growth requires proteins, growth requires carbohydrates. What I normally use is a product from Intraco, which is broiler 35%. Now, this helps the birds to grow faster and stronger so that by the second month I can be able to introduce layer concentrate. So 35% of broiler Intraco, I always mix it with broken maize and maize bran. When I mix these two, these are what help me to make sure that the bird grows to the strength I need it to by the second month. Now, when it comes to the second month, after I have seen that the birds have come to the second month, I now introduce layer 20%, which is a layer concentrate. Now, this layer concentrate, I will also introduce calcium to this feed because this calcium is going to help the birds to strengthen their bones, at the same time help them to also grow when they are firm in their wings. So I will introduce calcium through lime, and then I will introduce layer 20%. Then I will also add to my mixture broken maize, and then finally I will add maize bran. And I will feed them for another 2 months until the 4th month. Now, when they reach the 4th month, I will now introduce another ingredient. And this ingredient is called monocalcium phosphate. Monocalcium phosphate will help the birds not to to kill the desire of having to eat the eggs when they have produced them. So I will introduce this so that I can avoid any bird eating the eggs that will be produced. Now, at 4 months, when I have fed my chicken, every chicken should have consumed 8 kgs of feed. Now, if every chicken has eaten that amount, that means they will have started already, the reproductive system will have grown enough for them to start giving me eggs. Now, when the calculated 8 kgs of each chicken has been given to each bird, on the 4th month, I'll be assured of seeing my first egg. So the way you feed your chicken will determine how you will get the result of each chicken. Yes.
What is the daily consumption per each bird?
Now, the daily consumption of every chicken after it has started to lay is 120 grams. Each chicken should have consumed that amount of feed for you to see an egg per day. Yes.
Okay. How do you manage diseases on your farm?
How I manage diseases on the farm is in 3 ways. The first, I have biosecurity. When everyone is entering my farm, they have to at least pass their feet or their shoes in a disinfectant. I normally use a disinfectant called Kero or Virocid, depending on where the market I have found it. Then, secondly, I do vaccination every 2 months or every 1 month, depending on which kind of vaccine I'm going to do. Mostly the diseases that are faced on the farm is Newcastle disease and infectious bronchitis. So, sorry, I make sure at least every month or 2 I vaccinate the birds. Then, number 3, I train my workers to handle every operation correctly. How do I do this? For instance, when I am using the application of water to the birds and giving them something to drink, there is specific water that I use. I use rain catchment water, which is free from chlorine, which is free from every chemical. So the birds are liable to give me exactly what I want because I give them the right amount. Then also this water is clean. So there is no disease that will be affected into the birds because the water I'll be using is clean. And then the containers I use to put the water in my system, I make sure I clean them on a daily basis, because the more you are clean, the better the birds will give you whatever you want. And to add on to those points, I make sure that every time the litter is not smelling, because when the litter is smelling, it means the birds will be affected. So you have to at least change the litter every 3 months when you're using deep litter. And then when you're using cage system, at least every 3 days you should clean the cages so that the birds will not be affected by the smell and get diseased. Yes.
Where do you get the market for your products, and how much do you earn from this farm?
I get the market for my products locally. There is a person who comes and buys from this farm every egg that I produce on a daily basis. They are dealers and they come and get from you at a particular price, and then they sell at their price. For instance, They come to our farm and they buy a tray at 10,000 shillings. And then they take it to their market and sell it at 11 or 11,500 shillings, depending on what price is in the market. So the market is not limited, it's unlimited. You can sell eggs and even fail to produce more because the demand will be overwhelming. So the market is there, the price is specific, and it always changes depending on the fluctuations in the demand and the supply. Yes.
The message to those who have been watching you on this channel, and what mistakes should the farmers avoid?
The message I give to the farmers is be consistent with everything that you do. If it is managing the water and the feed, make sure you get from the right source. Make sure you get the best quality, and make sure you have a good supplier who will not tell you, I'm going to supply you, and then they don't give you the best supply. Those are problems that normally occur on the farm because people do not take notice of them. And then what you should avoid having workers be redundant and fail to do their work in time, because that will cost you your birds. Always set a specific time for the workers to wake up. Set a specific time for the workers to give feed to the chicken. Set a specific time for them to always pick the eggs from the chicken house. That is the only way you will make sure that you will not make losses, and you will enjoy your business, and you will be glad that you actually did this business. When you are consistent with the things I've told you, you will love what you're doing, and it will profit you.
Okay, thank you for giving us your time.
Yes.